So now we done with the hard linear sensors, which is or those orientation sensors or the IMU sensors. And let me skip into the simple sensors or the easy or the trivial sensor or the sensors we all know. Let's start with one of them, which is just here, the light sensor. So light, where is the light sensor? Let's do a mathematical or physical experiment. Yeah, I found it. It's somewhere here. How do I know? Because I block it and then I see the value going down and then I have it up and the value goes up. Right, so I have a light sensor and the light sensor allowed me to dim the screen or or other things. It's a very simple diode sensor that gives me a linear measurement or a point measurement of the amount of photons or amount of volume, or if you would, the amount of light being received by this little, it's not a camera, it's actually a little diode. Okay, so this is easy. The same things goes with a microphone. A microphone would be this point or linear sensor that allows me to sense the vibration in the air in some hertz or in some frequency values, and then maybe record it, maybe perform some operation it, but it's a very simple sensor. So that in mind, let's move to another simple sensor. So yeah, proximity, it's the simplest sensor. There's nothing to write home about. If I'm moving my hand, I get 0, and then if I'm removing my hand, then it's 2 meters. It's just a simple number. Temperature. So the current temperature is in Fahrenheit. I have it for my American audience. We do Celsius. Anyway, it's 106. It's quite hot, but maybe it's because the phone is a little bit hot. I think it's the temperature of the phone. Yeah, I have my screen working all the time, so yeah, it's 100. And you can see it's the temperature is raising, and it's raising because my phone works quite a lot. It also transmits it wirelessly the screen, and the screen is working and so on. But okay, so we have a sensor of the temperature of the battery actually of the phone. Another nice sensor is the battery. So the battery we sense the battery for temperature, but also for the amount of energy encapsulated within it. We will have a different session or a class about batteries and type of batteries and what is the energy, volt, watts, how you combine them, what is watt hour and why do you call it watt hour, and what is the consumption versus energy, and types of batteries. Right, so battery aside, a sound level, this is interesting, I like that. Consider the pressure of the barometric pressure. So yeah, so you can think of some sort of a force, the air forces on that sensor. But now consider that I'm talking, well, you don't need to consider, I'm talking. And when I'm quiet, yeah, the bar drops. When I'm calling a virtual cat, it's as if I'm talking. So there's no, obviously it sounds different when I'm talking and when I'm calling a virtual cat. But in terms of the amount of energy, it's more or less the same. You can do a lot of sensors. You can put them in your, think of a network, a sensor network. You can have a microphone, actually a microphone with no energy consumption at all. But whenever the air moves, that microphone is detecting through a membrane, a tiny little membrane that moves a little bit, and in a way generates a little pulse of energy of electrons, and then that sensor reacts to that. So you can have your sensor networks in the forest, and each of them are kind of sleepy. And whenever there's a noise, then the big fat elephant is crossing. Whatever. So this is regarding the microphone. There's a lot to talk more about the microphone. And the last thing we have is date and time. Right. Now the only sensor left for me is the GPS. I'm going to explain a little bit GPS 101 for dummies regarding this sensor. And then we're going to move towards a matrix sensors. meaning cameras and you know, other stuff or more involved stuff. But keep in mind that the more important sensors or the easiest sensors to understand are those which we have in our phones, are those that we can actually understand. And a camera is something which is natural for us. It is quite involved sensor. But a thermocouple or an accelerometer is a sensor which you can play with and understand it to a physical level. This is something I want to emphasize.